and I'm here with Albert Maida. And Albert Maida was actually recently accused of terrorist threats and making false bomb reports while attending University Technical Institute in Rancho Cucamonga. On June 3rd, Albert was taken in for questioning by the school. So, Albert, how did you feel at that moment when they were questioning you, and what happened after you were questioned?
One of the education managers stopped me saying, "Hey, we need to go into the office, we need to have a discussion." I then asked them, hey, am I in trouble? Is something going on? He said, no, we'll talk about it when we get to the office. So we get to the office, and him and another education manager then informed me that I was being suspended for 6 months for making threats towards other students, and that they couldn't do anything about it. It's the actions they had to take for the safety of the students until everything was cleared up. June 13th, when I showed up to the campus, me, my mom, and my brother Alan exited the truck, and we were about to go to the doors of UTI to go into the office. As this was happening, an officer turned towards me and said, "Hey, are you Albert Maida?" And I said, "Yeah, I am." He says, "Get on the floor, don't move, you have a warrant out for your arrest." At this point, I had no idea what was going on. I was mind blown. I was so confused and distraught. So they put me in cuffs before I could say anything and put me in the back of the cop car.
What happened after you were taken into custody?
Well, I was taken to the Rancho Cucamonga Police Department, and I was sat in a room, and a police officer walked in, and he had a folder. They had interrogated me at the Rancho Cucamonga Police Department for approximately 4 hours, and then they moved me to the San Bernardino Sheriff Department for 2 hours to take a lie detector test. That I had failed, and as they informed me that I had failed, the officer told me to stand up and that I was being charged with those charges, and that they're going to take me to the West Valley Detention Correction Center.
What happened when you went to jail?
I went to jail around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and around 6 o'clock, my family had posted bail for me, and the jail told my family that I was going to be released at 12 o'clock that night, 12 o'clock midnight, and my parents came back at midnight, and the jail informed them that they had messed up with the paperwork and I'd be released later that day at 6 in the morning. So at 6 in the morning, my family came back, and the jail had informed that they had messed up my birthday, so I wasn't going to be released till 1 in the afternoon. And then at 1 in the afternoon, my family came back again, and the jail had informed that they had messed up all the paperwork. At that time, my bail bondsman and my brother had to cause a scene to let them know that they weren't gonna take this anymore. And when they pressured them into what was going on, they had me released within 15 minutes.
During the arrest warrant and during the search warrant, did you guys have an attorney present at all?
No, we didn't think it'd become that big of a deal. We thought something like, okay, we'll deal with this, it's gonna all blow over. But when they came in and they did the search warrant and all that, that's when we understood, like, all right, this is getting serious. They're taking it too far. We need to get in it. When we got the attorney, we had our first meeting with him. When we sat down, he explained to us exactly what I was being charged with, and they were charging me with 4 felony accounts of false bomb reports, terrorist threats, and 2 other things, but I really don't remember what they were. And he informed me, like, this is very serious, and we might have to go to trial and all that.
What events led up to your arrest and your search warrant and so on?
3 students from the school informed the school that I was making threats toward them, terrorist threats, threatening their families, that I supported ISIS and all that.
Were they your friends? Like,
they were my friends. They also joked around with, saying, hey, hey, what's up, Allah. Them and actually several other students would always joke around with me, like, oh, hey, what's up, Allah, or like, say like, oh, hey, you terrorists, or something like that, oh, hey, do you have any family in ISIS, blah, blah, blah. And I'd always go along with the joke, just like, because I never thought anything of it. I never thought anyone would take it seriously, because, everyone always said it as a joking matter. Mm-hmm. Even during class, the teacher would laugh with us, everything.
Did they ever tell you to stop?
No, I was never told to stop, because, it's a school full of guys. We all joked around the whole entire time. There was other racial jokes, about the Mexicans and the whites, and it was all just little little petty jokes. No one ever took anything seriously in that school, so I didn't understand why it had been taken this far. We had a court date set for August 18th, and we were just waiting for that court date to come up. And I think July 20th, the district attorney put a charge on me for stalking, and he raised my bail to $750,000. And prior to that, it was at $50,000. And he also put a warrant out for my arrest. There was no evidence of me stalking. The students never reported me stalking. It wasn't in the police report. There was nothing in the case had to do with me stalking them.
So how was your first week of jail? What was your experience during that first week?
It was pretty traumatic. When I first entered and I was waiting to be put in my cell that I was going to be staying at, I looked at my ID card, and on the back it labeled me as Mexican, which I was confused by, and I was just standing around not doing anything when someone tried to stab me. So I backed up into my bunk and came in and helped me out, pushing him off me, so he told him, you can't be doing this stuff again. And that just scared the heck out of me, so I just sat on my bunk for the rest of the day. I didn't eat, I couldn't sleep that night. It was just a horrible experience for the first night.
Why did he try to stab you?
Well, the local newspaper comes into the jail, and they had printed out an article about me, and my mugshot was in there, and he noticed me from my mugshot, and he was a veteran, so he truly thought I was an ISIS member, so he was like, we gotta take care of this guy, basically.
So, when you went to the second jail, how long did you stay there for?
I stayed there for approximately another week.
What happened after that week was up then?
It was the Tuesday, the day before it was Wednesday, the day before my court date. And then all of a sudden the door opened up and they said, Albert Maida, pack your things, we gotta go right now. And no one was telling me what was going on. And then they had me in my original clothes that I came in. They gave me some money, and boom, they put me in a bus, dropped me off at a random bus station in Victorville. And on the way there is when the guard informed me that my case had been dropped, and that it was a court order for me to be removed from the jail. Immediately.
How did the media portray you as to the eyes of the public?
They labeled me as a radical Islamic ISIS member. And right then and there, I was mind blown. Like, I go to church, I attend church, I help out at the church, I help out the community. I'm a Catholic, and they have no idea. But they put me as a radical ISIS member, which I was so offended by. Like, how are you gonna label me as something when you don't even know the person I am?
Anybody treat you differently, meaning?
In the jail or in the public?
Outside, out in public.
I had a lot of my old high school friends that I'd see every now and then, if I went to the mall, and they'd just come up to me like, dude, why would you say these things? Why would you do these things? And then I have to explain to them what would happen. And you could just see it in their eyes, like, dude, the media made you look out, they made you look so bad. And I was like, they're like, the things you're telling me and the things that actually happened and the things the media said, they're two completely different stories. Why would they say that about you? And people would randomly come up to me and hug me from my high school, like, oh, I'm so glad you're out. We were actually trying to go to your court case to help you out. And then some people would give me that dirty look, like, don't act like you know me type of person. It's just a bunch of mixed emotions.
Does this benefit your community at all?
Yeah, I had a lot of people come up to me afterwards, from my community, saying, hey, we're so sorry that this happened to you, but it opened up our eyes, especially the adults who don't truly know what's happening, their kids that are growing up and going to school, they can now teach them, like, watch what you say, be careful who you joke around with, be careful who you trust, the jokes that come with being Arab, it's not okay for us to joke around with anymore, people might take it in a hurtful way, people might take it in a joking manner, you never know. But just don't do it at all, so you don't have to go through what I went through, basically.
Thank you, Albert Maida, for sharing your story and allowing us to interview you.
Anytime. You don't hold me, Tanner. Later, guys.